This pre-recorded program is sponsored by Tandem HR.
I see my name in shining lights, yeah, a different city every night. Oh, I swear the world better prepare for when I'm a billionaire.
It's time to get down to business on the weekend's #1 business program. Known as the King of Networking, your host, Shalom Klein, has worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and created countless jobs. So, to success. Let's get down to business.
We are all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship and business. We talk a lot about business here. You are on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. We've got a jam-packed week of some fantastic guests, some great content, some great advice, some great information for you. You won't want to miss a minute of it. I'm going to kick off the program with the curious problem solver who's focused on building the cities of the future. And that individual is Ibraheem Alinur. Ibraheem, thank you so much for joining me here on Get Down to Business.
Hi, yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So as the intro suggested, you are a curious problem solver, but not only are you curious, you are accomplishing what you have set out to do. And that's why you were named one of Chicago Innovation's 25 under 25 last year in 2019. Let's talk a little bit about you, the guy behind the microphone.
Yeah, so I've had my entrepreneurial journey. I think I started off when I was in high school. So I came from a very small town in the middle of nowhere in Florida. My mother was from Trinidad and Tobago, and she was studying to be an elementary school teacher. So I really came from very modest and humble means. And I kind of started my trajectory into entrepreneurship when I thought about how could I make the biggest impact. I had a really good mentor who put me in touch with some people who were in the entrepreneurship world and ended up being an angel investment for about 10 months when I was in high school, which was crazy. I was going to school and then I was wearing suits. It was a very interesting experience. And then everyone made fun of me for always being obsessed about networking. But over the years, it kind of like spiraled into this really passion about how do we create business models that will not only create a sustainable and sociable impact, but also solve real problems and are also sustainable. So over the last 5 years, I've been working on a few different projects. And most recently, the last 3 years, I've been focusing on City Health Tech. It's an organization focusing on preventing the spread of disease.
Very, very interesting. So where did the idea come from? And let's talk sort of about the experience. It's a crazy time to be starting something new, but as we suggested, you're focused on solving problems. So let's sort of talk about the life cycle of the idea.
Yeah, so I started this project in 2017. So this is back in like August. And I was having a conversation with my mom, who at the time was studying to be a nurse. And she talked about how hand washing is super critical. And she was getting taught to sing the happy birthday song twice, every single time she washes her hands. And I just thought about that and thinking about the average doctor or nurse is not going to do that. Every single time they're washing hands, they're trying to save lives. And sure enough, she did her practicum and found the average person is washing their hands for about 8 seconds. And that tracks nationally. The average person will only wash for about 8 seconds. Only 5% of people will wash their hands for the full 20 seconds. And that's something I ended up becoming obsessed with. If thinking about the foundation of good design principles and how we wash our hands, we looked at the sink and that hand washing process as a flawed system. So we approached it in figuring out how could we not only track hand washing times, but encourage, engage people to wash their hands properly, especially if that's the purpose of what we're doing when we're washing our hands and going to the sink. So we kind of set up.
I want to talk a little bit, Ibrahim, about some of the features of this incredible idea. And certainly you started this conversation a while ago, but who knew the situation that we'd be in? Let's start with the basics. Individuals are able to customize their 20-second hand washing experience. What does a custom hand washing experience look like?
Yeah, so you can walk to the sink, and as you approach the sink, you'll be greeted with an animation. And when you put your hands into the bowl, it'll have a system of timers or custom animations. So it could be anything from mindfulness reminders to even calendar updates or news updates. So it can really be tailored and focused to the person. Right now, what historically we've been focusing on elementary schools. That's been our big passion project, is how do you culturally create a mind shift on how people are washing their hands to approach disease prevention. Before coronavirus, there are 1 billion cases of the common cold in the U.S. every year. About 1 million days of school will be missed every single day due to preventable illness. It has a huge impact that has been linearly increasing as time has gone on and cities have become closer and closer. So now we've seen a lot of these flaws in our systems now that the pandemic has come around, and we see all these people who are now, okay, wearing masks, we have to socially distance, and the importance of disease prevention. So overnight, we've kind of flipped our business model from focusing on elementary schools and how we create that behavior change in students to working with businesses and homes on how are they looking at their critical infrastructure for returning to a normal economy.
And you're right for focusing on schools. Schools are hit hardest by illness, and certainly by making this into a fun experience, it makes a difference. But the interesting sort of outcome from this is if you're teaching proper hand washing techniques at a young age, then hopefully you're also influencing they're coming home, and hopefully they're teaching their parents a thing or two about, hey, at school, we were told 20 seconds and everybody's singing happy birthday or all sorts of other songs. I'm in the military, so we sing the Army song. That's our thing, but hey, to each their own. So the technology is called Opal, I believe. What's the meaning behind the name?
Yeah. So we wanted to create a product that felt very premium and important. We wanted to create something that's also eye-catching. So if you think about that opal color, it's something that's kind of very white, clean feeling, and also very attractive. So we felt that was a good name for the product. So when people look at the product, it's not something as an ugly timer that's put on a wall or something that you really don't care about. It really does look quite impressive. We wanted to create a piece that's something that's very engaging, really taking aesthetics from like the iPhone.
So you've won a lot of awards for a lot of the things that you've done, and we're going to go back to you in just a moment. But where are things right now with Opal? I know you started with prioritizing schools. Obviously, right now, wow, it's crunch time. Everybody's talking about hand washing. What's the current status, and when can we start to see this out and about in the community?
So right now we're focusing on working with businesses and critical infrastructure, thinking about restaurants, hospitals, healthcare workers, and anybody who has to return to work to make sure that it's a safe environment. So we've had a plethora of customers that have been coming to us within the last few months. We recently been featured on Forbes, TechCrunch. We were on Fox Chicago. We're going to have an article with ABC coming out next week, and also featured in the Obama Foundation, as I'm a member of the community leadership core there. So we got a lot of this interesting press and a lot of awareness and getting access to a lot of business people who want to put this in their society and their communities to make sure people are staying clean. We're currently working on our dashboard. So anybody who gets the product gets an entire dashboard on how people are washing their hands, hand washing duration, and activities. So you can make sure people are meeting those compliance issues. And we can expect to see this product coming out in the fall. So we're looking at getting these on full-scale deployment by October, if not sooner than that. It all depends on our rate of funding. But we'll be having small-scale pilots that you'll be seeing in schools and other locations over the course of the next month or two.
That's awesome. And again, that number is staggering, nearly 1 billion cases of the common cold in the U.S. alone. And obviously that's aside for the current sort of the issue of the day. And I know that you are very passionate about involvement in community, and that's helping you network and sort of bring this out there. And it's important that we're focused on long-term solutions. So Ibraheem, going back to you, obviously this has been a project over the past couple of years. You are, I believe, a first-generation American and college students, and you have a really, really fascinating background. So talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges that you have faced in developing these ideas, and more importantly, what advice you would share with other aspiring entrepreneurs with a similar story as your own. What challenges have you faced, and how did you overcome it?
I think a lot of the challenges is just from no access to information or resources. Like I don't have someone to lean on to who I can say, okay, this is my parents who have done this, or they knew a friend. My entire network has been built by me from the ground up. So I've been really intentional about the people I've met, and that has helped in supporting me in my mission. So I think really to take away all the complexity of entrepreneurship, it's about human to human interaction and building community. So I would say anybody who's in my shoes and just getting started, talk to people, get involved with people, build empathetic communities, and talk to people who you aspire to be like. I think that empathetic message of just being somebody who's interested goes a long way, especially when you're young. I think that's what served me really well over the last few years, is building a community of people who believe in me and can say, okay, this is something you're working on, and I can make an introduction to you or somebody else. And I think that's really been spiraling out. I think at this point, I think I have close to almost 2,000 people on LinkedIn. And for a 23-year-old, that can be kind of impressive. And it's been something that I've been having to pull and bootstrap myself. And another thing is funding. Especially being in a hardware startup, it's really hard to get started. And we've been, I think, just being at a university, we've been able to get access to a lot of resources. And last year, we've won over $25,000. So we've been able to bootstrap this without any external funding.
Well, it's very, very impressive. City Health Tech and Opal, it's really, really amazing. And as you said, at a very young age, and I believe, I'm not sure how this has impacted your graduation date, but I believe you are supposed to be graduating over the next 30 days. Maybe you already did, but Congratulations on that. I know we're going to see a lot more great things to come, but surely our listeners have a lot of questions. We'll want to learn more. How can they find out more about Opal and better hand washing habits?
They can visit our website at cityhealthtech.com and submit a pre-order request or engage with us through our contact form. We're eagerly waiting for people to reach out to us, and we're taking those as they come. So hear back with us in 24 to 48 hours. That's cityhealthtech.com.
Cityhealthtech.com. Thank you for all the innovative ideas. I know there's going to be a lot more to come from you, Ibraheem, Alinur. Thank you so much for joining us on the air. Keep us posted on your progress. We will be back on the show all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship after a very quick break. You're listening to Get Down to Business Chicago. Don't touch the dial. We'll be right back.
Chicago.